G'day everyone, welcome to my 6th floss tube video. It's Rach here from Rara's Realm and I'm coming to you from a lovely sunny summer's day. I guess we're almost in the official summer period here in the South Island of New Zealand. It's Sunday the 19th of November. I've got a few things. I've actually got enough things that I had to write a list for, and we'll work on our glaring positionings. The first thing I wanted to do is thank everyone who has been subscribing and commenting to my videos. I'm tuning along nicely. I'm really pleased with how things have been received and the number of people who are interested in seeing how I progress or how my projects progress. I'd also like to say a special thank you to, I believe her name is Rara, from Kay's Cross Stitch. Kay's Cross Stitch, I'm sure it's Kay's Cross Stitch. I believe about a month or so ago she actually gave me a shout out in her Flubies section of, it was video 71, in her Flubies section, which is Floss Tube Newbies. Cool title, I say. So a few people apparently have come to me from there, so I just want to thank her. I went back and thanked her on her post when I became aware of it, but just out and about to say thank you. And I've been watching a few of her later videos. I haven't watched a whole of her channel yet, but I saw her Halloween video a couple of weeks ago, and she was wearing the most marvellous Halloween hat. Halloween's not a big thing in New Zealand at all, certainly in my generation. The younger kids get into it a little bit, but I certainly would dress up if I had a hat like that. It was fabulous. So thank you for shouting me out. If you've never watched any of her videos, I certainly recommend going and having a look. She's got a wonderful personality, and her Flubies section is a great resource for finding new people. If you just don't want to sit through trawling through finding new people, she's done the legwork for you. It's brilliant. So we'll get on. I've got my 2 WIPs. I've got some haul, and I've got something I'm going to show. I wasn't going to get into the whole I'm all into section that Teresa of Shakespeare's Peddler has begun, and a few people have borrowed the idea, but I do want to share one thing. This is the only time I'll do it probably, and then at the end of the video I'm going to do a fairly unprofessional probably flick through of my stitching bullet journal. I've had a couple of requests or queries about what I do in it and how certain things work, so I will sort of flick through what I've got. So I'll put that right at the end, so if you're not interested in that, then you can sort of finish up after the haul and go off and find your next video. So we will get on. So I have the 2 WIPs, Santa's Village and the 6 Fat Snowmen. So this is my progress. I think I just went back and checked in my previous video to see where I was at, to see how much I had done. I've been working on my 4-day rotation, practicing how that will work out, and I think 4 days is a really good idea. Is a really good length of time. By the time day 4 rolls around, I'm looking forward to picking up the next piece. I'm not gutted that I'm putting the other one away or anything like that. It's just a nice amount of time. It gives me some room to move if I have to do something with my mother and I can't stitch that day. I've still got plenty of time, and I think I've been making good progress in each of my 4-day chunks. So Santa's Village is the first thing. So I am just working on the first block. There we go. The first block of Santa's Village as part of the Little House Needleworks Country Cottage Needleworks Stitch Along on Facebook, and once I've finished this I will put the project down again. I'm not going to continue working with this unless I actually finish the snowman relatively early in December. Then possibly I might start the second block just because there's something to do, but you know, we'll just see how it goes. Anyway, so that's block 1. And this is where I am at as of today. So in the previous video I had done the candy stripe at the top, the snowflake and smoke trails, and the darker shade of green on the roof. So I filled in, finished the roof, and I've begun the house, and I've got a Father Christmas who is just adorable. I don't think I've ever stitched a Father Christmas before. I was thinking as I was doing him. I've left the French knots for his eyes and buttons off, because if you can see on his belt there's a little empty square where there's a bit of yellow that needs to go. So I've purposely left the French knots off so that it reminds me to go back and do them, and I'll see that little square of yellow, and I'll sort that all then. So this is stitched on 28 count lamb's wool with the called for DMC, and it's a Crescent Colourworks, I think. I think it's called Hazelnut, which is the body of the house. So it's probably not showing up too well there because there's not enough infill yet, but next time. So I've got left on this, then I've got to finish the house. There's a tree next to the Father Christmas, whoopsie, in here, and then some snow and a garland border at the bottom. So that should be finished, if not in the next 4-day rotation, the one after that. So that's that. You just artfully fire that on the floor. The next one I'm doing, so this is block 5 of the 6 Fat Men. I'll keep wanting to call them 6 Fat Snowmen or 6 Snowmen, by Lizzie Cade. So this is the block I'm working on, and I'm doing it all as one piece. So, and this is where we are up to as of today. 2 weeks ago I had got the word Snow Fun and the tree closest to the border done. So I've done the rest of that obviously in the last couple of weeks. All that's left really is the snowman. At the moment he's a ghost snowman. He's got his scarf on so you can see he's there. And some snowflakes need to go in, and then that's done. And I was holding this out looking at it. I haven't got anything. Oh, actually, if you bear with me, I've had a thought. I'll just stick that behind for a minute. I won't fold it all the way out, but I actually realised, gosh, it's almost done. I mean, there's not much left of the block to do, and then there's the one block in here, and it's finished. So, what are we now? What did I say? 19th of December. So hopefully 19th of December, 19th of November. I'm hoping mid-December this will be finished. And that'll tie in quite nicely with then having to do all the Christmas stuff. So yeah, I'm really pleased at how that's coming along. I'm stitching this on the called for linen, which, if I read the back of the card, is a 28 count amber linen from Witchelt. And I'm doing it in DMCs. I'm not using any over dyes for this. And I'm really enjoying it now. So yeah, another 2 or 3 weeks and hopefully that'll be done. Alright, so those are my works in progress. I've been working on getting all of the other projects that start from January kitted up. I've got all of the DMC now for Hawk Run Hollow Bar 1. I didn't read my notes very well when I was in the shop yesterday, and I've left 1. And it's all bobbinated. well behind the UK. I'm sure they'll be well into the live shows now, but X Factor UK is on here on a Friday and a Saturday night, so that's my bobbinating time. I don't stitch in the evening. The light's not brilliant to stitch easily in the evening. I tried it once and luckily, touch wood, I didn't have to frog anything, but I didn't enjoy it. So I've been watching X Factor and I've been bobbinating all my thread. I've found some more, I'll just show for the Kiwi girls. I picked up these little 8 compartment boxes from Lincraft, $4 at Lincraft, and that's perfect. It's not big enough for Hawk Run Hollow, but it's big enough for most of my other projects. And the other thing, I still haven't made a project bag and I'm scared to death of giving it a go, so I'm not going to pressure myself for that. In the meantime, what I did in the same mall that our Lincraft is here in Christchurch, is a Japanese shop, and I had a nosy through there and I picked up, this is a laundry bag. I got the bigger size so that I didn't have to scrunch up the projects too much. So I just picked up 4 of those. They're breathable, and they'll do in the meantime, and they'll take the pressure off having to make project bags. Okay, so that's part of my haul, the stitchy boxes and bags. The next thing, I haven't really got any logical order, so I think I commented in the last video, it was the video before, about how many things I had ordered, and that reminded me of right back in video 1 where I said, well, there won't be much haul. I don't think I've stopped buying. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, we know you see something that you haven't seen before or had forgotten about. In the case of the 13th, whatever they're called, the third, by the Bay needle art charts that I've got. I had saved those in my Etsy shop, favourites rather, 4 years ago, but I'd never brought them until Laurie at Mischievous Stitches reminded me that they existed. Anyway, I have been shopping up a treat basically in the last 6 weeks of floss tubing. I have still got 2 orders to come to me. One's from a place I've used before, and I'm not totally impressed with how it's gone. They basically charged me twice, and if I hadn't checked my credit card statement, I probably wouldn't have picked that up until possibly it was too late to do anything about it. But I shot them an email and said, it looks like you've charged me twice, 5 days apart, for the order, and they rectified it immediately, so that was okay. And the other shop that I've used is a first time use for me, but I was chasing a chart and they had it. Other than getting the email initially when I placed my order, I've had absolutely no communication from them. They've only just taken the money, and it's been a good, it's almost a week since I placed the order, and they've only just taken the money for it, so I probably won't use them again. I'll wait and see what happens, whether they send me any tracking information when they send the parcel. I'll just see. I'm not, I guess we're spoilt with 123 Stitch. The stuff goes out immediately, and I get a tracking number, and I can guarantee sort of within 10 days of ordering I've got my stuff. I'm a bit anxious about these other 2, but anyway, we'll see how we go. I'm digressing here. So what I've had arrive in the last 2 weeks, I've got all the over-dyed threads for the Harvest Keeper from Plum Street. That's my medium start in January, so I decided to go for the overdyes with that, if that's what the chart calls for. Is there's only a handful of them, so I don't know how well we can see the colours very well there. Not the best on the black, wasn't a good choice, but anyway, So they have arrived and I've put them on a book ring. This is probably one of the only projects that actually doesn't have a nice thing to put it in yet. It's still in its plastic. Although I have reused, I've just realised, I have reused a little plastic bin that I've been using for other crafts, and I'm just storing those in there. Okay. So, I don't think we need to go through those. So, these are all the charts that I have ordered in the last few weeks. So the first one I have is a Shakespeare's Peddler, and this is, on the front it says Jenny Bean and Friends, and on the back it says Jenny Bean's Friendship Sampler. But I really like that. I do like houses a lot, actually, I'm deciding. So that came from Jen's Stitching Niche on Etsy, and with that she also sent me some over-dyed thread. I'm just trying to do it in such a way that you might be able to see it easier. So it's called Ginger Cake, and it's actually quite a nice colour. And I'm almost toying with using this for my small start, but I fear that if there's not enough, then I'm stuck with either having to try and find it. It says it's limited edition, so I don't know if that means it's still around or not. I haven't looked. Yeah, that was a really sweet surprise when I opened up the package. Then the next thing I have ordered is Promise Me by Lizzie Kate, and I'm going to do this as a gift for somebody. So this is probably the second thing I'll do in the medium slot once I've finished Harvest Keeper next year. Then I discovered, and I think I said this last time, I didn't realise Kathy Barrick has her own Etsy shop. So I discovered a whole lot more of her stuff than I had seen on other sites. So from there I ordered, well, first of all, I got the autograph. Somebody, I think it was Holly and Anita, had ordered, they had ordered, which one, I think it was Anita, has ordered this, and she had the autograph as well, and I remember I commented and said I hope I do too, and I did. But even better, the little birdies are robin, and I just love the little robin red breasts. So I have got, as I showed, the Riley Harbour. I'm not doing very well on the whole glare thing. I've done this a little bit earlier in the day in the hopes that the harshness of the light isn't so bad. So again, until I play it back, I don't know. And the other one, this is The Village, that I've ordered. So those came from Kathy Barrick herself, and I've got one other thing from her too, which I'll show in a minute. I'll talk about in a minute. Then I ordered a Blackbird's Design Rosy Morning. I think that I like the colours in this in the house, and those big flowers across the top. So, and this one we can thank Heidi Cran for. She showed her Christmas garden fully framed. Just gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. If you've not been to her channel yet, I highly recommend going to see her. So I went looking after I had seen that, and I discovered that Christmas Garden now apparently is only available in this booklet. How sad is that? So I hope my neighbour doesn't look over and see me talking to a wall. So I got it primarily for Christmas Garden, and I think this is just such a beautiful piece. The colours are beautiful. That's definitely going to be started next year, but there's some other really nice pieces in here. There was another one at the back. really nice. I really like this little stocking, and I'm toying with the idea, if I get brave enough, of just taking the elements, the house and the tree and the deer and some of the little doodads around, because that's a technical term, right? And just making a little small for Christmas. What's the other thing that really caught my eye at the back here? Maybe it wasn't. It'll take forever to find. But there's several charts in there, and well worth the cost. Then, in this beautiful blue folder that was once owned by Kathy Barrick, that's how she said the charts in it, I have stored some other bits and pieces. So, I've kind of got them around the wrong way. I'll just quickly get them around the right way. Somebody I was watching, and it was her first floss tube video, showed a piece that she was making from modern folk embroidery. So off I went and had a look, and ooh, I like this. Even better that it's basically PDF downloads. Once you've paid your monies, you get your PDF and away you go. So I gave it a go, and I've brought four charts for now. I'm sure that I will go back and get more at some point, but I've got to stitch them first, so I'm not going to go too bad. So the first one I got, this is Letters from the North number 4, which I really like. I love that they're all monochromatic, you know, that it's all basically one variegated floss. I'm sure if you were clever enough you could actually colour it, but that's beyond my scope. These two I had seen, now I don't know if I'd actually seen them on this website in the past, or I had seen them somewhere else. I'm really not sure, but I really like, especially this bottom one. These are the Minster Patterns Chapter House tiles, and these are based on actual, I wouldn't say medieval, because I can't remember the information exactly. Does it actually say in here? But they're based on actual tiles in the chapter house at York Minster in the north of England. They say the chapter house was built in the 13th century, so maybe medieval's not far off, right? But the one at the bottom is the first one I'm going to do. I really like that one. You might hear my father banging and crashing on the other side of that door. Hopefully he won't budge in, because I didn't warn him. This is called Biedermeier Bouquet, and this is a small pattern, so I think once I finish the first small on the list, I'm going to do this one. I really like that. And the last one that I got from them for now is, what do they call it? Benvenuti, an Italian welcome. Sorry. I really like that one too. The only thing I don't particularly like is the font for Benvenuti. And I don't know whether I'll do anything about that, or I'll just suck it and leave it and just get on with it. But I like the rest of it. Okay, so that was from the Modern Folk Embroidery. Then I got, I've been, in my sort of scribble book, I've been writing down, every time someone mentions punch needle and primitive stitcher and shows things, I keep writing it down, but I've never been to look. And it might have been Lynette at Homesteading on the Home Front mentioned that they are changing their policy. So if you subscribe after January 1, 2018, you only get access to 2 years worth of back issues, whereas if you subscribe now you get access to the whole back order digitally. So I went and investigated. I thought, well, I'll have a look, see how much it costs for a subscription, and it worked out in New Zealand dollars as $36, which for a craft magazine is 2 or 3 magazines depending on which one you buy. So I decided to get a year's subscription, so I've got access to their entire catalogue of magazines, which in actual fact is only about 2 or 2.5 years anyway, but still there's plenty there. So I just picked the Christmas issue, this is Christmas 2015 issue, and just have a play at printing off to see what the quality was. Could I figure it out? Is probably the first thing on the list, rather than the quality of the printout. Could I actually do it? Because I'm not that techno savvy. So anyway, I've got 4 brains just gone. 4 charts from the Christmas 2015 issue, and this is probably the one I'm toying with. If I get the other 2 pieces finished relatively early in December, I might actually make this one. I really like this one. And then I have got, so that's called Deer Ornament by Nikki's Creations. I shouldn't have started the by because the next one's Italian. This is I Believe in Christmas. We'll leave the by. I'll just do that. You can see who it's by. This is Good Yule, which I think possibly needs tinkering with, because you can't actually see, I don't think, very clearly between the top of the roof of the house and the top row of reindeer is wisps of smoke from the chimneys, and they go off to spell Good Yule. So I think that needs to possibly be addressed, either a change in the excuse me, a change in the fabric so you can see the white, or some other change, but I like that anyway. And this little piece, most wonderful time of the year. Don't particularly like the fabric. I'm not into this coffee and tea dyeing, although if it was a bit more subtle possibly, but I'm not a fan of how the fabric is on that, but I like the pattern, so that'll get done at some point. So I've only printed off from the one magazine. I haven't been through and pilfered everything yet, because I've paid the subscription for a year. I've got plenty of time to go through all of that. Okay, just checking my little list of things. I think I've covered all of those sorts of things. Move that out of the way. This is my one nod to Teresa from Kitten Stitcher, my all into. Only because I got it this week and I'm basically dying to spend the next couple of days reading it. I have been reading 2 series. One I'm probably slightly behind on. I didn't read the book when I first got it, but it's sitting there waiting for me to read. So the first book is about Anne Boleyn. This is a series by Alison Ware called The Six Tudor Queens, and I've read Catherine of Aragon, which I found really fascinating, and I'm looking forward to reading this. In between Catherine of Aragon and getting this, I read about Mary Boleyn, also by Alison Ware. I thought I would show that because watching a lot of you are interested in the sort of the medieval or the history of England or kings and queens and that sort of thing. And my understanding is that Alison Ware is one of the better historical writers in England. She bases a lot of her work on actual documentation. I don't know how I would describe this book. It's not a total work of fiction, but there is bits of fiction because she's had to fill in the gaps between the documentation and what's known in public records. So, but it's all written from the Queen's point of view, not from Henry VIII's point of view. And I found the story of Catherine of Aragon very interesting. I didn't remember from my school history half of what I read about her. And I'm sorry now that I actually didn't know enough about her, because I think she's buried at Peterborough Cathedral. And I was an hour on the train from Peterborough Cathedral, and I would have gone and actually had a gobble, quite frankly, because I love all of that sort of thing. Anyway, so this is book 2 about Anne Boleyn, and I think this will be equally as interesting a read, because she was a very feisty character, and certainly that's how she comes across in the first book. So to have it now from her point of view will be really interesting. So that's the one. The other one, if this will show up relatively with all the glare. So this is The Pearl Sister by Lucinda Riley, and this is book 4 of a 7-part series called The Seven Sisters. I can't recommend this highly enough. I absolutely love this, and I've been putting off, I wanted to get my stitching done so that I would have some good updates to show, plus my mother's got an afternoon day surgery on Tuesday, so I was waiting to start reading this. Big it is. This is just, I'll try and be brief, you know, I'm very good at being brief, not. That's why you have boobs, to hold things on. The 7 sisters are all adopted by a very wealthy Swiss businessman who dies, and in his will he leaves each of the girls a clue to their true identity, and each book is the story of each sister searching out that identity. And the book flits between now, where the sister's looking for the clues to who she is, and a moment in history that's related to her somehow. And it's not till the end of the book that you find out what the connection is and all of that sort of thing. For example, for the people that like Beatrix Potter, the second book, or was it the third book? It's the third book, has a connection with Beatrix Potter. So the sister involved has a connection to the Lake District, and Beatrix Potter features heavily in the what's the right term? Throwback? The past part of the book. I'm selling it well, aren't I? Anyway, so that's what I wanted to show, what I'm all into. It's going to be this book for the next couple of days. It's coming to, the previous books I have read in 2 days. This seems awfully big. I hope the printing's bigger. I'm a little bit annoyed. I like things to be matchy-matchy, especially if you've got a series of books. And now in this series of the 4 I've got so far, I've got a hardback, 2 big size paperbacks and a small size paperback. For the woman in the shop said to me, oh, they always come out like this first off, and I said, well, they don't, because the last 2 years I've brought them as the large scale paperback right when they've been published. And she went, oh. She doesn't care, they don't care. But now on my bookshelf it's little and big and then bloomin' ginormous. So anyway, I digress. Right, so that's the end of the whips in the hall and talking about the books. I'm now going to talk about the bullet journal. If you're not interested in that, then feel free to switch off now and carry on looking at other videos. I'm not going to take a huge amount of time. It's already at 34 minutes. And my bullet journal is no piece of artwork. So just briefly, and I meant to actually, never mind, we'll manage. So the first thing to do, if you actually don't know what the bullet journal is to search on YouTube for Ryder Carroll. He's the inventor, instigator of this way of bullet journaling. And it's a very just a clever way of keeping track of everything that you write down. It gained a lot of momentum when people started turning it arty and getting very colourful and artistic and calligraphy and all of those sorts of things in their bullet journal. And if you search for Boho Berry, you'll see what I mean. Her work is absolutely stunning, but there's no way I could keep up with that. But I liked the system. I've always written lists. Now I can just corral it all together in a much more logical way. I have a Midori Traveller's Notebook which has several books in it, but at the moment my stitching journal is in a separate journal until I refine what I need to record, and then you know, at the end of that I will either put it into a separate booklet in here or I'll leave it as a separate book. So I'm not going to go through this because that's A, there's not much in it because I'm hopeless at keeping up with it, and B, that's not the stitching book. So I'm just going to show you, you need any notebook, it doesn't matter what it is. If you look on any of the Facebook groups or on some of the videos, they've all got the expensive notebooks. You actually don't need the expensive notebook. My bullet journal notebook cost me $4 New Zealand. The notebook that I use for my Stampin' Up stuff, if I was to have brought it, this was a Christmas present, but if I was to buy this in New Zealand, it's something like $30. So it's, you don't have to spend the money if you don't want to. The system is meant to make life easier. It's not meant to cost you an arm and a leg and spend 3 hours decorating, in my mind. So I've basically moved past the decorating stage and I've got now what I term an ugly bullet journal. It's just purely functional and it does its job. The reason I've got this open is because I don't have this in my stitching journal, is that you have a key, and so you use symbols to sort of allocate tasks and move things around. So I don't actually have that in the stitching one because I know it all now. So anyway, I'm just going to flick. So what you do at the beginning of your notebook is, okay, that looks relatively okay, is that you create an index page, and every time you start a page for something you write it in the index page with what page number. You go through and you number all your pages and you put it in your index, and that's how you find it, or certain things you tab. And I will probably have some more things tabbed as I move along, but for now I've only got next year's plan thing tabbed. So I've left, I'll do my best to teacher impersonation here. I have left a couple of pages at the front for an index. Then I've just got a simple list of all the works in progress, when it starts, when it finishes. I started a sort of a written wish list, but in reality I tend to just go and stick it all on 1, 2, 3 stitch if they have it. This is just stuff that I've seen in videos and I needed to write it somewhere quickly, but I don't tend to use this all that much anymore, so this is a page that when I redo it I won't redo. Yeah, I'm not going to order much. Hopeless. I'm going to end up losing that page, aren't I? Now, floss tube tracker. That's probably not the easiest one. Right, so one of the questions I had was about my floss tube tracker. So I just drew up a simple grid of 10 squares, and as I go, and I'll find somebody down here has got lots filled in down there. Whose is that? Yvonne. Night Owl Stitcher. So I just cross off when I've watched them. This was more for when I was binge watching channels and just trying to remember where I was. If I was watching, sometimes I watch on my iPad, sometimes I watch on my laptop, so it was just a way of remembering where I was. Now that I'm up to date, I don't necessarily cross them off because I've caught up and they just appear on my list. And I've just allowed enough lines based on how many videos the people had when I started drawing this out. So I've got a few pages of tracker, and I'll need to do more because I've got more people to watch. So this is my one decorated page. I don't know how well you'll see it. It's got dirty cat prints. So I've just created an inventory page for each of the designers that I know I get a lot of, especially the most I have is Little House Needleworks. I really like her work. So it's just a quick reference rather than going flicking through everything to see what I've got, and I don't buy. Okay, ugly bullet journal page. So the principle of, one of the principles is the to-do list in the bullet journal. So all I do is write down all the things that I need to do with a checkbox beside it, and as I do it I cross the box so I know it's been done. Up the top here there's a couple of arrows next to those two, and they had to be moved when I got to the end of the page. I needed to start a new list, so you just arrow next to them so that you have acknowledged that you've shifted that stuff to a new page. I shifted it to a new page about 30 pages in, forgetting that I had left a page on the other side, but never mind. This is the one page I'm stuck on. I'm still figuring out how best to track my statistics on YouTube. So more inventory, I don't need to hold those up. This is an example of what you use the page for. So this was just my doodling on how best to do, how I wanted a rotation to be for next year. And you can see all the sort of various permutations I went through until I found something that I settled on. So I don't need to go back to that page now. That page has been undone because I've shifted that information. I've recorded, written down the orders of the various series I've got, just so that, well, actually I don't have any of the Hometown Holidays yet, but some are on the way. But these are two that I'm going to be stitching, so I wanted to make sure I know the actual order that they're in. And Hometown Holiday doesn't have an order anyway. This was just a list of them and how many stitches they were to see whether or not I was thinking about doing them as a one piece, but I think what I'm going to do now is pick 5 or so and do it as a long landscape piece. So I've got a page here for tips and tricks, things that I've seen or information I've been given, like how to calculate fabric. My over-dyed floss at the moment is just in there because that's basically all I've got. But again, it's just a quick reference to see what I've got. More inventory. I did this. These are individual project pages. I'm now thinking I don't know that I need this, but we'll just see what happens. If I actually fill anything more in as I do the project, I don't know. So, and then we get to the plan page for next year. So at the moment I've got the 8 starts that I'm going to have, and I've stuck in a calendar, and I think this is what I showed briefly last year, and I'll come in a little bit closer if I can. I've basically colour coded the year, and I've done that as much to remind me to change, but just to actually see in the end how much I actually do, because I will finish the cross. I've only done one leg of the cross on each day, and I will finish the cross each day that I've done something. So we'll just see how that goes. This is a sort of my to-do page. This is for kitting up all the other projects that need kitting up. So you can see that one's fully done, that one's fully done. Still waiting for, what's that, the third, so I need the threads for that one. Reading that backwards. Garden series, so I think I'm waiting for, yeah, threads for that. And that must be, yes, we're missing one thread that I can't seem to find in stock anywhere. I've got fabric inventory of what I've already got. I don't tend to buy any, but I'll come back to that point in a minute. This is just the page that I record all the stuff I want to put in the videos, and then I cross it out as I've done it. My to-do page has been moved, so that's now where it's, and any unchecked boxes from the previous page get put on here. And this page is the page, the to-do list is the page with the bookmark, so I can find that page easily. And then just, that's about it pretty much. So it's nothing, my bullet journal is nothing attractive, and I'm not into doing that. I just want to record what I need to record and know how to find it. And when I watch FlossTube, I carry this with me, and I carry this. This is my scribble book. Technically, if I just, this is nothing that you shouldn't see. So basically, as I watch things, I write down charts, I write down channels to watch, Etsy shops, all of those sorts of things. That stuff should technically go in here, but there's so much of it. I kind of decided to keep it in a separate book, but the idea of the bullet journal is that it would go in here too. You'd just open the next page and you would just jot down the stuff that you saw in the video, and then you'd carry on with the next subject on the next page. I'm sure once things settle down, I won't necessarily need the scribble book, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so that's my bullet journal. We're at 46 minutes and I've gone too close to the screen, sorry. I will call it quits, I think. I've got 2 packages due to arrive in the next, hopefully, week. 3 to arrive in the next week. And some stitching to do. Actually, 4 things. I made a comment about stitching at night. I've ordered one of those jeweler's things, you know, the magnifying things that you can lift up and it's on a headband. The thing I've got at the moment hangs around your neck. I should have brought it in. It's a magnifying glass on it's got a neck, if you like, kind of really crude representation. But this bit pushes it out from my body, and this is where I want to be stitching. So I've got to hold my hands out like this to get past the neck bit and look through the magnifier to see. So I have ordered one of those headband things with that we've seen in some of the retreat videos. So we'll see if that makes life a little bit easier, and it might make stitching at night a little bit easier as well. Anyway, I've taken up almost 50 minutes of your time, and that's more than enough. I shall love you and leave you from the South Island of New Zealand, and hopefully when you see me again in about a fortnight, I might have one mini finish, as in the Santa's Village block, and hopefully, well, I should do, the block 5 of the snowman should be finished as well, and block 6 should be started, so that's the goal. Happy stitching, everyone. Enjoy your FlossTube watching, and keep the comments coming. I really enjoy them. I'm pushing 100 subscribers, which blows me away, and then I look at everyone else and I guess Kiwi FlossTubers aren't the thing, but never mind. I'm going to do a giveaway when I cross 100, so hopefully by the next video we'll have crossed 100. I'm going to do some sort of giveaway, so we will, once that magic number has passed, you'll know all about it. Alright, take care for now, and I'll catch you in a couple of weeks. Cheers, bye bye.